the first technique that we are going to practice is called wet into wet. When you guys work with watercolors, if you're not familiar with watercolors, one, you're going to need a paper towel or a washcloth or something that you can like clean your paintbrush off with. You're also going to need water. You can see my water's already been used once today. And then you're going to need your watercolors. So the first thing I'm going to do, and you can already see the two examples I did in second period and they've already dried up. So wet into wet just means that, like you're mixing two colors while they're both very wet. And there's two ways that you can do that. So the first way is I am going to take some color. So I'm going to use this like green that I made earlier today. Just going to rehydrate it. That's the nice thing about watercolor is even if it dries up in the pan, you can reuse that color. So if you're working on a painting, you can come back and reuse the same colors. You don't have to clean it out every single time. I'm going to rehydrate this yellow. So the first thing I'm going to do is take this yellow, and you can tell it's not pure yellow. It's a little off yellow. I want you guys to practice making unique colors, so not just using straight from the pan. Like I want you to practice making like, this would technically be a tertiary color because it's a yellow green. So I'm going to take that yellow green and I'm going to lay down, I'm going to do a circle this time. So I'm going to do a big circle of that pale yellow. Yellow green. And then I'm going to clean my brush off. I'm going to take that green color I made, and how I made the green was I just took regular green. And then I used its complement, which would be, what color is the complementary color to green?
Red.
Red. Yes. So I would take some red, and if I wanted to make this green darker, I could take a little bit of red and mix it in with the green. And you'll see it makes it like a much darker, richer green. It's almost like a evergreen kind of color. So then I can take this green and like start to dot it on top of my yellow, and I accidentally let it dry up a little too much. So I'm just going to dot it a couple times. And you'll see it starting to like spread out. So if I take some extra water and like dot it on top of those colors, it'll start to spread out even more. So I could take like some blue now and like also dot that in there. Add a little water. This is how you can get a really cool like galaxy effect. I don't know if you've seen those paintings like online. You can also use this technique like when painting leaves because it helps you transition from one color to the next. And the main goal of wet into wet is that you're working pretty quickly because you don't want it to dry up, but you're also working with the colors being very wet. So if you're putting on a very thin layer of paint, it's not going to really work because your colors just won't blend as much.
I'm waiting.
Okay, so I'm going to stop. I'm going to stop filling with this one. And then I'm going to show you the next way to do wet into wet. So instead of laying down color first, I can take my clean paintbrush and then I'm just going to lay down just water. I'm going to make sure it's enough water. Okay. And then I can go in and do that same thing. So I'm going to do purple this time. I'm going to like put some drops of purple in there. And I'm not using enough color. And you can see it'll start to bleed out, so I can add some more water and just like tap it around. Maybe I'll add some green for a cool color scheme. But the more colors you start to add to it and the more water, the more it'll start to like bleed out and kind of like blend in with each other. You can also use your paintbrush to like drag and manipulate the way that the color is blending. But this would be a good way to add color into like those fall leaves that I showed you. It's also a good way to get like texture in the background of a painting. So like if you needed to paint some bushes, you could put down some like lighter green first and then like drop in some darker green. And it creates that cool like bleed out kind of effect, which gives it texture. So that's all we have time for today.